New developments continue to come in from the deadly bombings during the Boston Marathon. Matt Morrow is keeping track of all of them. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning once again to you, Elizabeth. There's a lot to get to this morning, so let's start with the latest. FBI agents say these bombs that were used were very basic. We're talking nails and BBs packed into pressure cookers, the kind you might have in your kitchen, put inside simple nylon backpacks. A total of 3 people are dead this morning, and more than 170 are hurt. Well, tomorrow, President Obama will head to Boston for a prayer service. Right now, investigators are pleading with the public for anyone who has pictures or videos of someone carrying those heavy backpacks and probably putting them in garbage cans. They still say they have no clue who is behind the bombings, and they're not hearing any chatter from any of the major terrorist networks.
We will go to the ends of the earth to identify the subject or subjects who are responsible for this despicable crime, and we will do everything we can to bring them to justice.
And while investigators are combing the marathon route for clues, Boston and the whole country are now coming together to remember the 3 people who died in the attacks. Many folks are being hailed as heroes after they jumped in and helped right after those bombs went off. And one of those heroes is a University of New Mexico med school intern. Dr. Danielle Dines was in Boston to run the marathon. She had just finished the race before the bombs went off. And Dr. Dines quickly got involved, helping people who were hurt, figuring out who needed to get to the hospital right away and who could get treated right there on the streets. She plans to come back to Albuquerque next week. Now, meanwhile, dozens of other runners who are from New Mexico who are in Boston are waking up back in the land of enchantment this morning. Michael Dobish lives in Santa Fe. He had finished the race and was already back in his hotel room when the bombs went off. But his daughter Kelsey was down the street waiting for her uncle when the chaos all started. She's still badly shaken up by what she saw, and both Kelsey and Michael just cannot believe what happened there.
We just were watching the gurneys one after another coming out and being loaded into the ambulance.
Well, thankfully, no one in Michael's family got hurt. And from what we hear, no one else from New Mexico who was up there running was hurt in the bombings. Elizabeth?
Thanks, Matt. You know, we have also learned that there is a New Mexico connection into the bombing investigation going on. Some of the investigators combing through the wreckage were trained at New Mexico Tech in Socorro. The school will likely play a role as the evidence is collected. Researchers at NM Tech could tell us just by looking at the footage from the Boston bombings what kind of bombs were used. They hope that skills will help them bring the bomber to justice.
The problem is, in order for the government to be successful, they have to catch 100%, right? For the terrorists to be successful, only one of them has to succeed. And every once in a while, one gets through the network. This looks like this may be the case.
At least 15,000 people have been trained by NM Tech, and 1,500 of those are in Massachusetts. New Mexico Tech also helped investigators after the first World Trade Center attack, as well as in the wake of the Oklahoma City bombing. And you know, the images from Monday's bombing continue to haunt the nation, no doubt. And because of it, many are thinking twice before heading out to big events.
So we started thinking, what's the biggest event around here in New Mexico that can draw 100,000 people to one area? Well, of course, it's the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta. And get this, we talked with a board member who was in charge of security there to see if what happened in Boston is going to cause him to make any changes here. News 13's David Romero is live out at Balloon Fiesta Park. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Matt. Well, behind me is Balloon Fiesta headquarters. Now, this is where dozens of police officers, sheriff's deputies, and security experts meet every year, where they can discuss how they're going to keep the hundreds of thousands of people safe that come to the yearly event here at Balloon Fiesta Park. Now, in the wake of Monday's tragedy, the organizers say they will examine security concerns from the bombings in Boston. Now, it's nearly impossible to screen the many spectators as they enter the Balloon Fiesta Park for the yearly international attraction, but that's what several organizations, including the Albuquerque Fire and Police Departments, along with the FBI and Homeland Security, have done for the last handful of years. Security has always been a priority, but measures were stepped up after the terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001, and they've been a major concern ever since.
We may, based on what information we get, have to tighten things a little bit more. But I think for the most part, we're very aware of what's going on and what we need to do to make it the safest place in New Mexico for 10 days.
Now, according to the Balloon Fiesta website, spectators can bring packages and backpacks into the park. However, they should know that they are subject to be searched once they enter the facility. Matt, back to you.
All right, thank you for that update, David. Now, you know Balloon Fiesta Park is very big, and just to give you an idea of how big it is and how hard of a job it is for law enforcement to keep an eye on things, take a look at this. The size of Balloon Fiesta, according to the park, is about 54 football fields. Put that all together, I think it's about 27 acres. No doubt a very big undertaking there. Of course, we're following the latest with the Boston bombing, and we'll always have it for you right here on KRQE News 13, and anytime you'd like at our website at krqe.com. On some other news this morning, more trouble for a fraternity that's at UNM that's already at the center of one rape case.
Now, a woman who claims she was also raped there 10 years ago is asking why the fraternity is still being allowed to be on campus. Amanda Kane says her boyfriend was an SAE and raped her one night. She claims she told police, but says the case never went to trial. Since then, at least 3 other women say they were raped at the SAE house. The university says SAE was on probation after an alleged attack 2 weeks ago.
I think that they've proven that they're irresponsible and that they have no concern or consideration for the safety of other people. And I think it's time that the University of New Mexico takes that seriously and suspends them permanently from campus.
The future of this fraternity is uncertain. A hearing is expected to take place at UNM next week. Well, good news for Albuquerque Public Schools. It looks like there will be more money coming in from the state next school year. APS is now expecting $24 million more in state funding, which is a 4% increase. The new budget puts funding levels back to the way they were in 2010.
Bernalillo County's leaders now under the gun with less than a week to figure out what to do with the overcrowding problem at the MDC. If they don't figure this out and how to reduce the numbers in the jail by next Monday, they may ask the courts to go ahead and step in. Last week, county commissioners could not agree to send some inmates to other jails. It's a problem that has been at the center of a federal lawsuit since the middle of the 1990s.
We do feel that we are close to, probably the closest we've been in 18 years to a resolution. And so I think our legal team felt it was best if we made this voluntary effort rather than to do it under a direction of the court.
Yesterday, the county and jail administrators talked about other ways to deal with this overcrowding. The issue being in the courts, it's costing taxpayers more than $1 million a year in legal fees.